Fuji APS-C is a wonderful system that I've used for years. However, there are some gaps in the lens options. There's a few that we could spend time discussing today, but the focus of this video is the 40mm equivalent. First party Fuji only has two options, and they're basically the exact same lens, 27mm f2.8s, and the only real difference is that the newer version is weather resistant. No fast options. Enter third parties. The great people at Thypoch have entered the chat with a beautifully built 28mm f1.4 manual focus lens. Thypoch sent me this lens to check out and give my thoughts on. No, I don't get to keep it, but regardless, these thoughts are all my own, and Thypoch did not see this video before I published it. Everybody's seeing this at the same time. But all that aside, in actual use, how's the experience? As I alluded to earlier, the build quality is fantastic, on par with Fuji's premium options and other third-party competitors. This is an all-metal manual focus lens with, thank goodness, a proper focus tab. I've used 3 of Voigtlander's native lenses on the Fuji system, and I really like them all. While they all have amazing, unique image quality, build materials, and solid value, they didn't feature a prominent tab with an indentation like so. There's a better level of control and precision that you can get, and it makes this lens such a joy to use. It's a massive plus for Thypoch in the ergonomics category, and it cannot be ignored. Even better, you can also choose between clicking and declicking the aperture ring. I imagine declicking it would be more useful in the video capacity, but we're focusing on photography today, so someone else can explore that. Combining the clicked aperture ring and a proper focus tab with the lens only weighing 347 grams, and I will say that this is potentially the most ergonomically sound lens on the Fuji APS-C system. Another feature that isn't so much ergonomic, but more of a design flair quality, is this depth of field scale that's fashioned into the lens. As you adjust your aperture and your focus range, you'll see this depth of field scale alter in accordance with your settings. There were some instances while doing street photography where I deliberately used it while photographing from waist level, and it was cool to rely on it for a few of those images and see that it did support the final image. Now, you may have questions about durability. Now, I didn't put it through a wrestling match, so I don't know about knocks and drops, but this lens is not weather resistant. So no thunder or snowstorms for you. I pretty much never photograph in conditions like that, so I don't really care, but anybody in the market for this lens will want to jot that down. All in all, the build and ergonomics are top notch, but what about the images? Well, I mean, the image quality is absolutely lovely. The rendering doesn't strike me as excessively vintage or overly clinical, but somewhere in a happy quality medium. Across the entire aperture range, I found the images to be quite sharp, and the colors to resolve nicely across all my favorite film simulations. The f1.4 aperture allows for lovely background separation for subjects like nature and portraits, and great light gathering for low light as well. Combine that with the fact that it has a minimum focus distance of 0.4 meters, and you can really get some wild depth of field. Now, I don't think that my eyes are deceiving me, but there tends to be an ever so slightly lower sense of contrast in Fuji's general options when it comes to baseline color. However, many of us are post-processing and using custom film simulations, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But one characteristic that did stand out with this lens is the flaring that you get when you're photographing into or at certain angles of sunlight. I think it makes for a nice look. It can definitely wash out the colors a little bit, but on the flip side, it can make for some unique images. I don't see that as a drawback or a plus, just the native quality of the lens. But overall, I like it a lot. It feels like a perfect match for Fuji X camera bodies. Ergonomically, it's amazing and the image quality is great. Really, the only con that I can see with this lens is that there are no electrical contacts to have your full EXIF data registered. This is a feature that I got used to with Voigtlander's lenses on Fuji, but you'll have to decide if that's a requirement for you. To finish up, I do want to compare this Thypoch lens with 2 other 27mm options that you can find on Fuji, the Voigtlander 27f2 and Fuji's native 27-2.8. I spent a good amount of time with the Voigtlander 27f2. I actually made a review on it that you should check out after this video. Never got around to reviewing the 27-2.8 when I had it, but I spent quality time with that as well. Now that Thypoch is here, and not for much more money than the Voigtlander, here's some food for thought. In every way except EXIF data and weather resistance, I think the Voigtlander and Thypoch outclass the Fuji 27-2.8. While the 2.8 has solid performance from both ergonomics and image quality standpoints, I enjoyed it the least out of the 3. The autofocus can be seen as a plus, but it wasn't excellent. So especially if you're going to prioritize a manual focus experience, it's going to pale in comparison to Voigtlander and especially Thypoch. You could go either way for saying that the 27-2.8 or Voigtlander is sharper than the other, but sharpness isn't everything. In fact, I think Voigtlander's unique rendering puts it over the first party option. The 2.8 is the cheapest of the three at around $400, but if the difference between that lens or the Voigtlander or Thypoch is just a paycheck or two, I would save up. So really, this discussion is between the Voigtlander 27 f2 and the Thypoch 28 1.4. And it comes down to some specific factors. The Voigtlander is the better option if you need a compact lens over everything and value having your EXIF data. It's also the true character lens out of the bunch, but saving $50 brand new compared to Thypoch, it's not nothing, but it depends on how much you value those quality of life features in your lenses. Outside of that, Thypoch is easily the best option on paper. Excellent ergonomics, robust build quality, host of quality of life features like the focus tab, aperture ring, depth of field scale. I have a hard time saying one has better image quality than the other because rendering is preferential, but that's up to you. And all of that for only $649? It's a pretty good deal. I'd like to thank the folks at Thypoch for sending me this lens, and also I want to thank you for watching. My name is Dorian Coleman, and I'll see you in the next one.